Ever wonder why some people make you feel like you're asking for too much? Like your basic needs are somehow unreasonable? Here's the truth. You're not too expensive. They just can't afford you. When I say expensive, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about the value of your time, energy, loyalty, and love. These are the currencies that truly matter in life. Some people will try to bargain with you. They'll want discounts on your boundaries, clearance sales on your self-respect, but your worth isn't up for negotiation. This matters in every relationship you have. The friends who only call when they need something. The boss who expects overtime but fights your raise. The partner who takes your love but gives excuses in return. Staying where you're undervalued doesn't just hurt, it costs you opportunities to be with people who would gladly pay full price for who you are. By the end of this video, you'll recognize when someone doesn't value you properly. You'll understand why walking away isn't a loss, but an investment in yourself. And most importantly, you'll learn how to stand firmly in your worth without apology. Your time on this planet is limited. Your energy is precious. Let's make sure you're investing it where it truly pays dividends. Time isn't just passing minutes on a clock, it's life itself unfolding. Every second that ticks by is a piece of your existence you'll never get back. This makes time your ultimate currency, far more valuable than any dollars in your bank account. We often forget this truth when dealing with people who drain us. That friend who constantly vents but disappears when you need support. They're not just taking an hour of your day, they're taking an hour of your life. That job that overworks and underpays you isn't just stealing your Monday through Friday, it's stealing irreplaceable moments of your journey on this planet. Think about what happens when you invest time in someone who doesn't value you. First, there's the direct cost. Those hours spent that could have gone towards someone or something that enriches your life instead. But beyond that lies a deeper cost. The emotional energy depleted, the opportunities missed, the personal growth delayed. Each minute spent trying to prove your worth to someone incapable of seeing it is a minute not spent with those who already recognize your value. Each day in a draining relationship is a day not exploring passions that light you up. Each year at a job that doesn't appreciate your talents is a year not building something meaningful. Time invested unwisely compounds negatively. It doesn't just disappear, it leaves residue, resentment builds, self-doubt creeps in. You start questioning if you deserve better, simply because you've spent so long being treated like you don't. People who truly value you respect your time. They don't waste it with empty promises. They don't keep you waiting for texts that never come. They don't string you along with maybe someday when they have no intention of ever showing up fully. When someone consistently shows they don't value your time, they're sending a clear message about how they value you as a person. And that message costs far too much to keep receiving. It costs pieces of yourself you may not even realize you're giving away. Spotting when someone doesn't value you isn't always obvious at first. It starts subtly before becoming painfully clear. One unmistakable sign is when someone consistently makes you feel like an option rather than a priority. They appear in your life when convenient for them, canceling plans last minute or showing up only when they need something. Pay attention to how they respond when you speak. Do they interrupt constantly? Check their phone? Change the subject back to themselves? These behaviors reveal they don't consider your thoughts or feelings worth their full attention. In romantic relationships, undervaluation often shows up as minimal effort. They expect you to accommodate their schedule, preferences, and needs while rarely adjusting for yours. They might take days to respond to messages, yet expect immediate replies from you. When good things happen in your life, their congratulations feel hollow or tinged with competition rather than genuine happiness for you. Workplace devaluation has its own patterns. Despite your contributions, promotions go to others. Your ideas get ignored in meetings, only to be praised when repeated by someone else. Extra work lands on your desk without recognition, while others receive accolades for lesser achievements. Even friendships reveal clear signs. One-sided friendships drain you. You're always the listener, the supporter, the one who reaches out first. When you finally need support, they're suddenly busy or offer superficial comfort before steering the conversation back to their problems. Notice how people treat you when saying no becomes necessary. Those who don't value you react with guilt trips, manipulation, or anger when you establish boundaries. They make you feel selfish for having basic needs or taking care of yourself. Another telling indicator, they rarely acknowledge their mistakes. Instead of apologizing when they hurt you, they minimize your feelings, claim you're overreacting, or turn the situation around to make themselves the victim. Trust is continuously broken in small ways. Promises made lightly and broken easily. Commitments that evaporate when something better comes along. Secrets shared that somehow become public knowledge. Each breach speaks volumes about how little they treasure their connection with you. Settling for relationships where you're undervalued creates costs that accumulate silently day after day. At first, it might seem bearable. Small disappointments, minor irritations, moments of feeling invisible. But these experiences don't just disappear, they stack up, creating a weight that grows increasingly difficult to carry. Anxiety becomes a constant companion when surrounded by people who don't value you. You walk on eggshells, carefully monitoring everything you say and do. Will this text be ignored? Will this idea be dismissed? Will this need be treated as unreasonable? Living with this uncertainty drains mental energy that could be directed toward growth and joy. Sleep suffers as conversations replay in your mind. You analyze interactions, wondering what you could have said differently to make them see your worth. This mental hamster wheel exhausts you, yet solves nothing. Meanwhile, stress hormones flood your system, affecting physical health. Headaches increase, immune function decreases, digestion problems emerge. Perhaps most dangerous is how staying gradually rewires your self-perception. When treated as unimportant repeatedly, you begin to believe it. Your brain, searching for patterns, starts to accept the narrative that maybe you aren't worthy of better treatment. This insidious shift happens beneath conscious awareness until one day you realize you've internalized others' devaluation. Confidence erodes with each boundary crossed without consequence. Once clear standards become negotiable, then optional, then forgotten entirely. You begin to feel grateful for crumbs of attention or respect that once you would have recognized as inadequate. Creativity and authenticity wither in environments where you're underappreciated. You stop sharing ideas, expressing true feelings, or showing your quirks and passions. Instead, you shape yourself into whatever might finally earn approval. This self-betrayal cuts you off from your natural gifts and intuition. Resentment inevitably grows, even while trying to practice acceptance. This bitter feeling contaminates all interactions, making genuine connection impossible. You find yourself becoming someone you don't recognize, perhaps more cynical, withdrawn, or pessimistic than your true nature. Settling doesn't just cost present happiness, it steals future potential. Each day spent trying to extract value from people incapable of giving it is a day not discovering connections with those who would celebrate your existence effortlessly. When someone perceives you as too expensive, what they're really saying speaks volumes about them, not you. High-quality individuals come with certain standards: emotional intelligence, respect, consistency, and genuine care. To people operating at lower frequencies, these requirements feel like luxury items they can't afford or aren't willing to invest in. Self-aware individuals require honest communication. They expect accountability. When mistakes happen, they demand respect for their boundaries and time. None of these requests are unreasonable, yet to someone accustomed to getting what they want with minimal effort, these basic expectations seem extravagant. People who value themselves highly won't accept breadcrumbing, inconsistent attention, or emotional manipulation. Meanwhile, those who don't recognize this value system see these boundaries as obstacles rather than signs of healthy self-worth. They want the benefits of connection without putting in the work required to maintain it. Often, this perception gap comes from different relationship currencies. Quality people trade in respect, emotional availability, and mutual growth. Those who find this too expensive typically deal in more superficial currencies: convenience, status, or temporary gratification. When faced with someone who won't accept these lesser forms of payment, they label that person high maintenance instead of acknowledging their own unwillingness to elevate their investment. Depth itself can be intimidating. Someone who brings authenticity, vulnerability, and emotional intelligence to relationships may seem overwhelming to those who prefer keeping things surface level. Rather than rising to meet this depth, they retreat, labeling it as complicated or too much. This mismatch becomes especially apparent in how conflict is handled. Quality individuals expect problems to be discussed openly and resolved with maturity. For those unaccustomed to this level of communication, addressing issues directly feels unnecessarily difficult compared to their preferred tactics of avoidance or blame shifting. Viewing this dynamic correctly reveals an important truth: being too expensive for certain people isn't a flaw. It's confirmation you're operating at a value level they're unwilling to match. Their inability to afford you isn't cause for you to decrease your price. It simply indicates they're shopping in a market beyond their current willingness to invest. Attempting to negotiate down what makes you fundamentally you creates a dangerous precedent. Once someone sees they can bargain for a discount on respect, they'll continually push for clearance sales on every aspect of how they treat you. Each concession teaches others exactly how little they can give while still keeping you around. Every time we lower standards to accommodate someone's inability to meet them, we're essentially saying our initial boundaries weren't serious, just opening offers in a negotiation about our treatment. But core values aren't marketplace commodities. They represent essential requirements for healthy connection. What happens when we discount ourselves repeatedly? We train our brain to accept less while simultaneously signaling to others that our stated needs are flexible. Soon enough, the exception becomes the new rule. That occasional disrespect becomes normalized. That rare broken promise becomes an acceptable pattern. Discounting works against us psychologically in another crucial way. It creates cognitive dissonance. Part of us knows what we truly deserve, while another part accepts less. This internal conflict generates constant background stress as we try to reconcile these contradictory positions. Maintaining unwavering standards doesn't mean being rigid or unreasonable. It simply means identifying what constitutes respectful, healthy interaction and refusing substitutes. This clarity attracts people operating at similar levels while naturally filtering out those who find basic decency too difficult. Many fear holding firm standards will leave them alone. Paradoxically, the opposite occurs. Consistency in what we accept creates an authentic field around us that draws similar energy. Meanwhile, compromising core needs might keep people physically present while leaving us emotionally isolated within those relationships. Self-respect functions like compound interest. Small daily deposits of maintaining standards create enormous returns over time. Conversely, small compromises accumulate as devastating losses. Each time we say this treatment is acceptable when it isn't, we withdraw from our self-worth account. Standards serve as protection. They aren't arbitrary rules designed to make life difficult for others. They're carefully constructed boundaries ensuring we remain emotionally and psychologically safe. Lowering them doesn't create more love. It creates more access for behavior that harms us. People who genuinely value you create a distinctly different atmosphere from the start. Instead of wondering where you stand, you feel an unmistakable sense of certainty. What makes these connections immediately recognizable is their consistency. Words and actions align naturally without excuses or elaborate explanations. Notice how effortless communication becomes with those who appreciate your worth. Meaningful conversations flow without games or strategic delays. When life gets busy, they communicate clearly rather than disappearing and reappearing without acknowledgement. This reliability isn't something they view as extra credit. It's their baseline standard for treating someone they value. Watch carefully for how potential connections respond to your boundaries. Those who can afford you react to limits with respect rather than resistance. They don't try to negotiate your needs down or make you feel guilty for having requirements. Instead, they appreciate that clear standards indicate self-awareness and emotional health. Quality individuals demonstrate attentiveness in subtle yet powerful ways. They remember details about your life without prompting. They follow up on things you've mentioned in passing. This isn't calculated behavior. It's the natural result of actually caring about what happens in your world. Relationships with people who value you properly feel fundamentally different in your body. Nervous system activation decreases. You'll notice less anxiety before seeing them or sharing vulnerable information. Physical tension diminishes because you're not constantly bracing for disappointment or preparing to defend your worth. Reciprocity becomes automatic rather than something you must continuously monitor and evaluate. Energy exchanges feel balanced without keeping mental scorecards. Both parties naturally contribute according to their abilities without one constantly feeling depleted. Perhaps most tellingly, people who truly value you celebrate your growth rather than feeling threatened by it. They encourage your evolution even when it creates temporary inconvenience for them. They view your expansion as a shared benefit rather than something that might take you beyond their reach. Growth-oriented feedback appears regularly in these relationships. Unlike criticism designed to diminish, their observations aim to elevate. They can address difficult topics directly because their ultimate interest lies in deepening connection rather than controlling outcomes. Walking away from relationships where you're undervalued often feels like failure at first. Society trains us to view persistence as virtuous, to stick it out regardless of cost. Yet this mindset becomes destructive when applied to situations that diminish our spirit. Leaving isn't admitting defeat, it's making a strategic investment in yourself. Each time you remove yourself from environments that don't recognize your worth, you immediately regain energy previously spent trying to prove your value. This reclaimed energy becomes available for pursuits that actually deserve your attention. It's similar to withdrawing money from a poor investment and placing it somewhere with better returns. Empty space in life isn't something to fear. It creates necessary room for better opportunities to enter. Nature abhors a vacuum, and relationships work similarly. When low-value connections occupy your time and emotional bandwidth, they physically prevent higher quality people from finding space in your life. Walking away requires courage precisely because it means temporarily embracing uncertainty. Yet this uncertainty contains unlimited potential compared to the guaranteed disappointment of staying where you're underappreciated. What awaits on the other side isn't just different people, it's a different version of yourself. Leaving toxic situations initiates profound neural rewiring. Brain pathways previously dedicated to negotiating basic respect become available for creativity, peace, and genuine connection. Stress hormones decrease, allowing clearer thinking and improved decision-making about future relationships. Distance provides perspective impossible to gain while immersed in devaluing dynamics. From a removed vantage point, patterns become obvious that were invisible when you stood too close. This clarity prevents repeating similar situations with new people wearing slightly different faces. Many fear the sunk cost fallacy. I've already invested so much time. This thinking keeps countless people trapped in diminishing situations. True wisdom recognizes that previous investment doesn't justify continued investment when returns clearly demonstrate a pattern of loss. Growth accelerates dramatically when freed from environments resistant to your evolution. Skills and qualities previously dismissed suddenly find appreciation. Aspects of personality suppressed to maintain uncomfortable relationships resurface. This restoration of authentic self-expression attracts alignment with those naturally attuned to who you truly are. Raising your price tag begins with an honest inventory of what you genuinely offer relationships, not as ego inflation, but as clear-eyed assessment. What qualities do you bring consistently? What values do you uphold even when inconvenient? This self-knowledge forms the foundation for authentic confidence rather than defensive posturing. Daily habits shape self-perception far more powerfully than occasional grand gestures. Small promises kept to yourself reinforce internal trust. When you say you'll exercise and follow through, you prove your word has value, first to yourself, then to others. This integrity becomes magnetic to quality people who operate with similar reliability. Boundaries function as price tags in human interaction. They silently communicate what treatment you will and won't accept. Strengthening boundaries isn't about building walls, but about defining the terms of engagement clearly. Each time you calmly enforce a limit without needing to justify its existence, you telegraph your inherent worth. Speaking with conviction requires practice. Eliminating minimizing language, just sorry, kind of, from communication, immediately elevates how others perceive your value. Statements delivered without unnecessary qualification land with authority naturally respected by those worthy of your time. Surrounding yourself with accurate mirrors accelerates growth. Seek people who see you clearly, neither inflating nor diminishing your qualities. These connections provide calibration impossible to achieve alone. Their honest reflection helps adjust self-perception until internal and external realities align. Investing in personal development isn't selfish. It's necessary maintenance of what you bring to all relationships. Knowledge expansion, skill refinement, emotional intelligence development, these efforts compound over time, creating someone naturally valued more highly without needing to demand recognition. Celebrating small wins rewires neural pathways to recognize your capabilities. Many wait for external validation before acknowledging their progress. Reversing this pattern creates independence from others' opinions, while paradoxically making positive feedback more likely through increased self-assurance. Breaking approval-seeking patterns feels uncomfortable initially, yet yields tremendous freedom. Decisions made solely from internal guidance rather than anticipated reactions demonstrate self-sovereignty immediately recognizable to similarly evolved individuals. This authentic alignment attracts connections that naturally value your unique offering. Confidence built through consistent self-respect becomes unshakable because it doesn't require external maintenance. Unlike arrogance, which demands constant validation, genuine confidence simply exists as the natural result of knowing your worth through lived experience rather than intellectual concept. Everything changes when you finally understand that standing in your value isn't being difficult, it's being honest. True worth isn't measured by how much someone is willing to pay, but by how much you refuse to discount. Your presence, time, and energy are premium offerings that deserve proper recognition. Some will walk away when you hold firm to your standards. Let them. Their departure makes room for those who see your value clearly without needing constant reminders. This natural filtering process isn't rejection, it's selection of who belongs in your life. Never apologize for knowing what you deserve. Never feel guilty for expecting basic respect. And never compromise core needs for temporary comfort. The moment you decide your worth is non-negotiable is the moment your entire life transforms. Every no to what diminishes you becomes a powerful yes to what serves your highest good. Each boundary honored builds a foundation no one can shake. Each standard maintained creates a life that feels authentically yours. If this message resonated with you today, hit that like button to help others discover it too. Subscribe to our channel for more content that empowers you to live with unshakable self-worth. Your best life begins the moment you decide you're not for sale at discount prices.